If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
We're repeating actual Russian talking points, and I hate saying that because I've heard it from the left for so long. But it's like this is I don't know. It's just true. We're repeating actual Russian propaganda. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Vladimir Zelenskyy all sitting in the Oval Office talking normally, and all of a sudden everything explodes into chaos. And I think this was a setup. I think this was an intentional thing planned ahead of time because it comes out of nowhere and it gets so aggressive for no reason. There's a few slip-ups that they say in a conversation that makes me think that this was honestly the intention, was to bring Zelenskyy here and humiliate him and try to like say he's not thankful and present him as he just has his hand out for money and just try to make him look terrible to the U.S., which somehow is working. People I respect are believing it, and I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This is mental, but let me know what you think. We're going to go through it.
I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but
yeah, no kidding. He's got tremendous hatred. Like, what kind of comment? We'll see the most brain-dead takes from President Trump and J.D. Vance here. Yeah, he's got tremendous hatred from the guy who's come into his country and killed a bunch of people and is, like, causing an existential threat for his family, himself, the people he loves, the people he has in his country, for everybody. This is crazy to me.
I tell you, the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes.
This is fine if you want to do the stupid both sides brain dead thing because you think it's going to be some art of the deal concept to get both to the table. Okay, I'm fine. I've accepted that. I've bought into that lie that this is just some high IQ business deal and he's just got to put pressure on both sides and then we're going to end the war. I've bought into that, okay? But as you can see, there is no deal here.
One more question.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Yeah, in theory, I agree with that. In practice, I do not agree with that because where's the diplomacy? If we're going to talk about diplomacy, then show me some diplomacy. We don't see any diplomacy in what we're about to see at all. I don't know what the strategy is. Like, yeah, I understand that just saying harsh words and condemning and stuff without doing things isn't going to solve the problem, but this isn't going to solve the problem either. And this stands to make things a lot worse.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah.
Then shut the up. When I saw this is just insane to me. You're going to correct the guy whose country was literally annexed in 2014. And not only, it's one thing to make a mistake, but you're going to stop him mid-sentence and say, 2015 you mean? And you're going to be wrong about that? Are you kidding me? If you don't have the historical knowledge to understand the context, which honestly I don't think J.D. Vance or Trump does, then just be silent in these parts. Don't try to correct him on history. Holy shit.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, Yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed with him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about?
This is the insane thing to me. This is a totally fair question. This is a totally fair line of reasoning. He's saying you're talking about diplomacy, but we've seen it happen in the past and he's violated it. He's violated it in many ways. He doesn't give a shit. He's reneged on prisoner exchanges. He did a full-scale invasion after. Like, he obviously violated the Budapest memorandums. So it's like, what kind of diplomacy? And I've seen people say that if you watch the full context, that it kind of like makes sense then. And oh, you can understand how disrespectful Zelenskyy was being. No, you can't. I've watched the full context. But this is the moment? This is the disrespect? Or the fact that he didn't wear a suit, which some brain dead fucking hard reporter stands up and says he's being disrespectful because he's not wearing a suit. The guy's in war. He's trying to like represent his people. Can we just like calm down for a second and be like at least a little bit normal? But like, this is not a offensive question. If this is an offensive question, then like I guess he's just supposed to sit there. And I guess that's what JD Vance and Trump want him to do. They just want him to sit there and just bow down and just say how amazing Trump is. And Zelenskyy even does this stuff anyway. He started the conversation off by saying thank you, which will be relevant in a moment, as we'll just see. But he's been thankful so much. I mean, yeah, he's gotten a lot of money. He's also been very thankful. I don't know. What do you want from someone in a time of war when they need weapons to fight the opponent that's representing an existential threat against their country?
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with
I'm sorry for pausing so soon. Like, there's talking points. We live in a world of talking points. Like, Zelenskyy gives an actual well-thought-out thing with actual examples of Putin not following agreements and saying, how do you do diplomacy in a way if someone isn't going to follow agreements? If you don't have security guarantees, if there's not going to be some type of tit-for-tat situation here, then what does the word diplomacy means? And then J.D. Vance just says some brain-dead stuff about, well, the kind of diplomacy that's going to save your country. Fuck off with that shit. Just give a real answer. And if you are not historically or politically minded to do it, have someone else in your goddamn seat to do it for you.
I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? Did you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring people.
Oh, that's comforting, JD. Okay, I thought you didn't know anything about the conflict, but you've seen stuff on Twitter. You've seen stuff on the news. Wow, so you have the same understanding and exposure to Ukraine as I do. Oh, great. That brings so much comfort. Just say you haven't gone. Don't try to be like, well, I have seen the stories like everyone else in the contiguous United States. What are we talking about here? And also the attitude about thankfulness. Again, Zelenskyy started this conversation with saying thank you. I don't like CNN, but CNN did a freaking layup of 33 times, I'll put it on screen, 33 times Zelenskyy has thanked America. Zelensky's obviously been thankful. And that's the weird thing. This just like comes out of nowhere. And so this is what makes me think that this was the plan from the beginning. They wanted to try to get this win on Zelenskyy and somehow make him look like he was being disrespectful. And again, somehow this is working amongst people I respect. But like this didn't lead up in a natural way to being heated. And now we're just going to get into more insane stuff.
You bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
Also, yeah, just before Zelensky says his stuff, because he's going to try to be nice, but I'm not going to try to be nice. First of all, like, bring them on propaganda tours. What are we trying to propagandize here? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, are we denying that Ukraine is in a state of turmoil for part of the country and is good in other parts of the country? Like, what kind of propaganda tour? The stuff JD Vance is saying just doesn't make any sense. Just like forcing conscripts. That's a fucking pleonasm. A conscript is by definition someone who is forced. If you're drafted into the Vietnam War, yeah, you're forced into the Vietnam War. So what do you mean what do you mean forcing conscripts? Propaganda tours. This is rehearsed. This is a fucking setup. It just is. This is like a pre-planned thing to try to tear Zelensky down in public on national television.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
Really? And now Trump has just got to step in. Like this was a two-part setup where JD Vance like kicks it off and then Trump wants to get in and get his licks into. Like, what do you mean don't tell us how you're going to feel? You cut the guy off mid-sentence for one, but obviously he's talking about how you're separated by an ocean from Russia right now, but eventually if you let Russia just go crazy, eventually that ocean ain't going to be enough to protect you. That's a fair point. And Trump is like, don't tell me how you're going to feel. Like this just gets more insane.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
And that's just gross. You cannot convince me that's not an intentional choice of words there. How he says dictate and the dictation he uses when he says dictate, because he just said on Twitter that Vladimir Zelensky is an unelected dictator. So he says, you're not going to dictate. You're not going to dictate. Just get out of here with this. This is just nonsense. This is like actual Russian propaganda. And this whole time I've been hearing like false cases of Russian propaganda, like Russiagate and all this stuff. And now I'm like, holy shit. It's like, how much control does Russia have? Because what's going on here? Why are we like being so obsequious to Russia and to Putin? Like, what is happening? Like, part of me was like, okay, sure, like maybe this is some like, you have to bring both parties to the table, but there's a level where it's just like, what are we doing? What game are we playing here? And who's aligned with who?
We're going to feel very good.
Feel influenced.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influenced.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
cards.
Playing cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
How is he gambling with World War III? And like, I'm sure if anyone watches this video, I'm gonna get a bunch of fucking Russian bots in the comments talking about how bad Zelensky is and stuff and how much I'm glazing him. I'm not glazing Zelensky. Okay, I have issues with Zelensky. I think a lot of the stuff that he set initially for like his terms were unrealistic. He has to give up land in order for this to end. But what we're talking about here is him signing over some unknown amount of billions of dollars of rare earth minerals in exchange for what? In exchange for no security guarantees? Like, I feel like Zelensky is at this point willing to concede this land. If he was sitting here and being like, look, I want all the land back and I want all the US to get all my land back. I want Crimea back. Then sure, it's like, okay, I would get it. It's like maybe you're gambling with World War III, but wanting security guarantees after an aggressive nation has repeatedly violated all other agreements? Like, why would Zelensky sign an agreement for a ceasefire with no guarantees? Like, what would be the possible motive for him to do that? And Trump just is acting like he has no cards, and it's like, well, yeah, but what? There's no advantage for him to sign it. There's no advantage for this agreement to happen. And spoiler alert, the agreement didn't happen, and you'll probably see why. But like, yeah, it didn't happen. So art of the deal, my fucking ass.
What you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
Yeah, and then we just get to peak stupidity. Have you said thank you once today? And then Zelensky says, he freaking says, yes, I have many times, even today, because he did. That's how he started off this fucking meeting, was with the thank you. Like, JD Vance, what are you doing? And I liked JD Vance, okay? I have lost more respect for JD Vance in the past, like, day now than I have for almost anybody, any political figure, almost ever. Like, this doesn't make any sense. The guy is thankful. The guy did say thank you, and JD Vance is just trying to present this narrative. And again, everybody is eating it up on my side of the aisle, which I don't understand. I just don't get it.
And campaign for the opposition in October, offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure that Zelensky needs to hear from fucking Donald Trump that his own country that's been invaded for the past 3 years is in big trouble. Wow, thanks, Trump. Didn't realize that. Didn't realize my country was, losing tens of thousands of people, and we're heavily reliant on all these countries coming together. And that's why, that's why I'm fucking here to try to secure some type of end and peace deal and with security guarantees. Thanks. I needed you to fucking tell me about geopolitics and about how much risk my country's at. Holy shit, this is mental.
Winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military...
me.
God, I hate that touch. I hate that fucking touch. Oh man, I just, I know Zelensky is limited what he could do, but a part of me just wants him to be get your hands off me. Holy shit, you're gonna talk this aggressive, you're gonna talk loud and then claim you're not talking loud, and then you're gonna do a little push into him. Oh, that makes me so angry just watching it. I've already seen this video before. That's why I'm making this video. I've already watched it, and I'm still every time I see this part, I just get more and more angry.
Invited
If
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
How quickly did the U.S. military equipment show up to Ukraine? Maybe less than 3 days? No, Ukraine did a good job holding on, and without the U.S. support, what? There's no way they were able to get U.S. weapons that quickly. So, that's just, we're actually repeating. Zelensky's right to say I heard it from Putin. Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, we're repeating actual Russian talking points, and I hate saying that because I've heard it from the left for so long. But it's this is just, I don't know. It's just true. We're repeating actual Russian propaganda. We hear it from Tulsi Gabbard. We hear it from JD Vance. We hear it from Donald Trump. We hear it from all of these people now. Everyone who's even responding to this is just crazy. It's just crazy. Look, I'm gonna put Lex Friedman, okay, quote up. This is what Lex Friedman tweeted after, okay? I love Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman is one of my favorite people online. I can't tell you how much I love Lex Friedman. But then to see this, I'm just am I the insane one? Is there a secret cut where Zelensky flips him off or something? What's the disrespect? What is the possible disrespect that was shown? And this is well, I'm going to put another quote from Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn, I like Theo Vaughn. He's not a politics guy, but I like him. He seems like a genuinely good human being. And then he's saying this. I don't get it. I don't get it. If anyone's watching this and you're on the other side, tell me what I'm fucking missing. Please, somebody fill in these gaps for me because I'm getting blackpilled. I'm getting blackpilled on my own side here.
It would be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
So this was the plan. This was the plan. He thinks it's good for the American people to see this. So this was a planned thing. I think that this was an intentional thing to like turn Americans against Zelenskyy. But like, I don't know how it worked. It's like, I feel like they were trying to trigger Zelenskyy into like getting offensive, but Zelensky's like not raising his voice. Zelensky's just being moderately firm when JD Vance is like shouting at him just nonsense, and then Trump is pushing into him. It's like, if I was Zelenskyy, I mean, geez, you have so much on the line, so I guess that's why you're calm. But like, that's some like nerves of steel. Like, but yet this is still spun. People like, oh God, like you just have like Trump just pushes the narrative, and then like everybody's just like, yeah, that is what happened. Like, you could just, are we gaslit so easily? Is my side, the conservative side, gaslit so easily? And I'm not a rhino, okay? I am not a Republican in name only, okay? I'm a fairly dyed-in-the-wool center-right conservative, okay? I supported Trump, but this is just like, I gotta call out insanity when I see it, and this is fucking unhinged, okay? This is just unhinged.
It's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this.
Again, a ceasefire for what? Okay? You know, the aid was given as a grant, okay? The aid was not given as a loan. Parts of European aid, a small part, was given as a loan. A loan you have to pay back. The U.S. aid that was given to Ukraine, you don't have to pay back. So what? Because one administration gives you billions of dollars, now you're obligated to sign a rare mineral deal to pay back a gift? Like what does Zelenskyy get out of this? A ceasefire with no guarantees. And again, the aid was given because Ukraine demilitarized and signed the Budapest Memorandum, which said that the US and the UK and whatever other freaking countries signed on to that would give support. It didn't go as far as to say security guarantees, which is why we're not in World War III right now. But that aid that was provided was, to some extent, that's what was promised. I mean, and what a terrible precedent that would set for the future. Because like now, if we go to a country and like Iran, let's say we somehow get in another Iranian nuclear deal, and we go to Iran and we say, hey, we want you to denuclearize, and we'll protect you if something bad happens. Well, they're going to say, well, yes, you will. You know, I saw what happened in Ukraine. You know, you first gave money and then you wanted all of that money back plus more, and then you wouldn't even give them security guarantees after that point. It's like, this is a terrible deal-making strategy. This is just awful. And I feel like they think they could just strong-arm him into signing the dumbest deal in the history of mankind, to just sign off saying, no, he'll give all this stuff for a ceasefire that Russia doesn't give a shit about if there's no guarantees attached to it. It's just crazy to me.
If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you'd take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me. That wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets.
How much military aid was given under Biden? Like, so much, right? So like, and Trump has not been in office long enough to have done something substantially more than what Biden did. So I don't even know why. And obviously Zelenskyy just has to sit here and be like, okay, but the whole thing just doesn't make sense. Obviously Zelenskyy wants a ceasefire. He obviously just doesn't want to sign a ceasefire and tied into this mineral contract to get absolutely nothing out of it. Like, in what world does this benefit Zelenskyy at all? He's just gonna a hope and a prayer that Russia just stops. Like, again, like a sensible thing would be like, okay, like, and this is a compromise, okay? Yeah, Zelenskyy, you can't keep all your land, you know, all the 20%, some of that you're not going to get back. That's the reality. Okay, I think that's the centrist, fair position to hold on here. That's the reality. Okay, in a perfectly fair world, sure, Russia has to pay all the war damages and all of the land gets sent back to Ukraine, right? Like, yeah, sure. But that's not going to happen. That's not reality. But what's also not reality is Ukraine signing a mineral deal in exchange for a ceasefire, which will almost certainly be temporary with no security guarantees. And also all these calls for Zelenskyy to resign. What, so we can install some fucking puppet dictator and Ukraine can become a new Belarus? Like, how? Like, Putin is laughing right now. Putin is absolutely laughing. I've seen some people spin this as if like Putin is in some ways like afraid here that this was a show of force. This was a fucking embarrassment. This was a show of nothing. This was a show of buffoonery. Okay, that's all this was.
The statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards, but without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make. Because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do we do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now?
Just more absolute brain damage. Like, a good answer. Good answer. What if a bomb drops on your head? You know, what if we all simultaneously have heart attacks? You know, like, what a stupid, like, that's a legitimate question. That is the whole crux of the issue. Like, what happens if Russia does break the ceasefire? Now we've signed this contract for the rare earth minerals, and now we've kind of ceded that Russia is going to be taking charge of the land, and now they still want more. And now what? Now we just see what happens? Like that? Like what a like obviously you would want some type of contingency of what happens. This is a totally fair thing to ask, and we get an absolute non-answer. Everything in this whole freaking interview has been talking points, just nonsense. These are not the people that should be in the room. You know, I don't know. Just get someone who understands the conflict. Get someone who's been to Ukraine. There's got to be some foreign policy guy that can like deal better with this. John Kirby. I like John Kirby. Get him in the room. You know, I understand that JD Vance is the vice president. And like I said, I like JD Vance, but this is not his specialty. This is a fucking shakedown. This is a poorly handled PR nightmare, except for some reason amongst the Republicans it's not, and it's a W? What?
Okay, what if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. You ever hear of that deal?
Putin went through a lot. Like, Russiagate was like something that Putin was super stressed about, and we should feel bad about Putin. What? That's just this, and this just gets stupid because now Trump just starts talking absolute nonsense, and it's like, okay, the Trump weave is fine if you're not in like a very tense geopolitical meeting, you know, to do the Trump weave and you know, kind of bridge into other topics. We know Trump does that. This is not the time and the place for it. This isn't.
That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam.
Okay, the Russiagate stuff, a large part of it was a scam. But there also was stuff found in the Russiagate stuff. Not that Trump was involved, but Russia has been trying to interfere with our elections since forever. Like, and very obviously there's evidence of this. You can look this up. This isn't controversial, and Donald Trump must know this. And so, like, yeah, so I just don't feel bad for Putin for being accused of stuff that he like does all the time. Like, what are we doing here? Like, honestly, I feel like Donald Trump is like feeling like a puppet government himself. The U.S. is the new Belarus, baby. That's the freaking story here, and that's not a good story. I don't want that. Okay, I don't want that. I still support Trump. You know, he's the president, but like this is just insane. I do not have words to describe the insanity of this meeting. It is just mental illness. It is just absolute degenerate mental illness.
And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing.
And that's it. That's it. And again, no deal was signed. You know, I don't know if this was just put pressure on him in thinking that this is some high IQ thing where he leaves signing the deal. He didn't sign the deal, and then he gets kicked out of the freaking White House. You know, allegedly, at least according to the media. You know, and you know, and just to show the contrast. I mean, we have Trump's tweet. You know, that happens after. You know, you can read it, right? Very, you know, exactly what you'd think. And then you have Zelensky's tweet, you know, which is the complete opposite. He says thanks for the, you know, 400th time. You know, he's very respectful. Like, and so, like, I don't know. You tell me, do you think Zelenskyy was disrespectful in this meeting? I just don't see it. Again, I've watched the whole thing, like not just this section, but the hour before it. I don't see it. It doesn't make any sense to me. If it makes sense to you, let me know in the comments below, because I don't want to be crazy, but I feel like I'm going fucking crazy. Okay, that's it. Bye.